All right, gonna get started in just 1 second. and hopefully we are live with good audio and we don't have any technical issues, and I have all the parts that are needed today. Yesterday's stream for a while didn't get quite as far as I had hoped. Was missing a little LED for the hot end that had actually fallen underneath my kind of build platform surface. I've got a piece of countertop here and it had fallen under that. And then I cracked this version of the mini stealth burner by using too long of screws. It called for M25 or M3 by 25 and I used 30, so it actually created a delamination there. So yeah, hopefully we won't repeat any of those mistakes today. We can get a little bit further, but trying to think of anything I need to make an announcements for. I've got links to stuff like the tensioner from West 3D, some of the Polymaker filaments, and some other things in the kind of description area with tagged products. And welcome to the stream. So we're going to continue with the Toolhead today. I have reprinted this guy, so this is the new one. Actually, I made a little bit of a mistake there and got the wrong order of color changes. I do single extruder kind of color swaps in order to do stuff like this, and I put the black in when I was supposed to put the gray in, but it looks kind of cool, so we're just going to go with it. Hopefully it looks good in the final build. As always, this has been provided by Fysetc, so thank you to Fysetc for sending this over. They didn't specify, you know, what I needed to do. I just mentioned I was going to do a stream and eventually a review, and they don't have any type of oversight or editorial control over what I say about the product. I'm just trying to share my experience with you, and I've actually been getting quite a bit of help from folks in the chat, so that's always great to see. And I think that's it. So we can go ahead and get started with the actual build. No drop frames. Stream quality is reported as excellent, so that's good to see. And let's switch overhead and then turn on the side camera. Picture in picture. Oh, that's shaking a little bit. Stop shaking. So this is the old piece that I broke, so we can kind of throw him away. And I've already put the threaded inserts and the bearing into this one. Bill yesterday gave me a really good tip in terms of getting that bearing inside of there. If you just put the bearing onto the shaft and use that to insert it in there, it will go in pretty easily. I still haven't seen anything about these two little spacers that they give you in terms of creating the right distance. I suppose we'll just have to kind of put the whole thing together and see how that is, and then see if we need to put in a different spacer. So there's essentially 3 different kind of offsets you can get in terms of how close this ends up sitting or how far it gets pushed out to make sure it has good alignment with our idler and the filament path. And so there's no washer, a smaller spacer, and a bigger one, or I guess you can put the 2 together if you wanted to. So maybe there's 4 different settings, but we'll see if we need that. But let's continue with the build stream. So we've done this part. I did not, no, we already did this part as well. We've got those in there. Go ahead and start recording. We can skip this part for the most part. Also kind of skip this part. We have the motor plate set up. And we can continue here. So we need to put the bearing in, then the shuttle, followed by the guidler, such a strange term, guidler, and then the latch, which goes this way. Then we will, I believe, put the mid plate on, mid body, which goes a little something like this. That just keeps falling out. That will press fit down. You can use our 3 M3 by 25 screws to help press this down. We'll get a nice positive lock and squeeze it in together. $2mm driver. And hey, what do you know, when you use the right size screw, you don't end up cracking anything. What a novel concept. So I kind of like this color combination. Kind of going with 3-tone or 4-tone when possible. We need these guys to go in from that side. They require a ball end. And the order of operations here does seem to matter. Doing these 3 screws first will pinch everything closed so that these will actually be able to thread in. I didn't do that right the last time. And they weren't aligned right. Didn't get started. Alrighty, so we are picking back up where we left off yesterday, and the couple mistakes I made I have corrected. So at the end of the stream, I had broken the old mini stealth burner shroud by using 2 longer screws to screw the mid body on. So this time around, I reprinted it. Actually got the color order wrong on this guy, and put the black in when I meant to put the gray in, but it still looks kind of cool. So I have caught up to putting the mid body in, the guidler. We've got the bearing down there. Need to make sure that this can move smoothly, so don't screw this in too tight is some advice I got. This guidler needs to be able to kind of swing back and forth. And this kept falling out, but now, nope. Mess that up. Put this in before that screw goes in. That screw holds that latch in. Go to the overhead cam. That moves. This guy's a little tight. As you guys hop in the stream, please let me know how the audio sounds. All right, so now we're all caught up to where we left off yesterday. So we've got the 2 screws coming in from the bottom, the mid body on. This is pre-assembled for us. Ruben, welcome. Thank you for subscribing. If you have any questions about anything, comments, notice I'm doing something drastically wrong, feel free to let me know. This will drop into here. Should drop into there. There we go. They don't have any specific documentation for this gear. It's their like nano-coated helical, I think it's Sherpa style gear, which replaces the Bondtech. It's kind of like the Bondtech Ridga, which is the reverse integrated direct drive or something like that gear. Then we can put the motor plate on. Oh, I need to update the chat. That link somewhere. Chat, edit, paste. Okay, there we go. That is this current stream. So we need M3 by 6 button head, which we still have quite a bit of, and M3 by 10, which are already out. The 10 goes into the bottom right. Two 6s go into the top and bottom left. And when you don't accidentally crack parts, this actually moves along pretty fast. Oop. The main lesson I've learned from building 3 V0 that is done. So this is where we need to get the spacing correct. If I'm holding it this way, there should be a little bit of space between the mid body and the gear. There currently isn't very much space. This is threaded, so maybe I can use a screw to pull it out a little bit. Yeah. So they have these spacers, so that's making me think I should probably take this apart and use, I think, the larger spacer, so that there's no play in that. We also need to look at the filament path. Really hard to see down there. Yeah, it needs to be out, shifted out that way a tiny bit. Or how much of this we're gonna have to disassemble, get that spacer in. I wonder if there's a way to tell before you do all this how much space you need. I tweeted this out. Let me make sure that that went through correctly. That the stream is working on my end. Yeah, it looks like it. Cool. So I think we're just gonna have to disassemble the majority of this. That spacer on. Wouldn't be one of my 3D printer builds if I didn't have to almost completely disassemble something. I did actually go into the Fysetc Discord and went into their V0 channel and asked if anybody had any guidance on which spacer to use or if there was instructions, and I didn't get a reply back. Try to pry this guy off a little bit. Yeah, and I didn't see very many videos on this either. This is really hard to get back off. There we go. Right, so we need a spacer on here. Let's go with the bigger spacer. Then the bearing. All of that back on this guy back down. Press this guy back in. That's actually not quite enough space. But press that down all the way. Filament path still isn't quite perfectly lined up, but it's closer. Oh, we gotta get our shuttle. If anybody in the chat has ever used this Fysetc nano-coated helix, hexacle, whatever it's called, gear, and see that I've done anything wrong, definitely let me know. I like that they have some cool kind of special unique parts of their kit, but I wish there was some more documentation around it. It's not quite a direct drop-in from my experience replacement. So I did see that Narrow streamed from Smurf today. I haven't watched it yet. I coach at a CrossFit gym and needed to watch the F1 race, so I need to get caught up on that. I haven't seen much in terms of like cool announcements of new products or anything special. This latch to be able to pop open and close, move pretty freely. The guidler as well. Get this back plate back on. Sure that our nut, hex nut, and our bearing are still in there. M10 on the bottom right. 6s there. They're pretty close on that filament path. Where is my filament path unjammer guy? I actually have a small 1.75 millimeter rod that I usually use to do this, but we can use a piece of filament as well because I can't find that. me cut off a piece of filament. Place that in there. And we've got relatively good movement. You can see that helical gear moving, which means everything should be meshing up fairly well so far. We can take this guy, which is pretty much pre-assembled, and screw our guidler arm to our shuttle. Or compress it a little bit to get it threaded into that threaded insert. It's a pretty strong spring on this. Tighten it down a fair bit to start out with. So far, everything's feeling pretty good. Yep, everything is seated well. The latch and the shuttle are in the right spots. What else do we need to do? The light teeth marks. Now that the tension arm is on there. Might need to back off our little anti-squish thing a tiny bit. It's actually really hard to do with this assembled. It feels like it was just grabbing everything too positively. Tightly. Hey, Little Snake, welcome to the stream. Hex Peppers, welcome. I know you frequent Steve's streams quite a bit. This is a standard self burner, so it's BMG, but it has this special helical gear from Fysetc. The only issue is that they don't really have any instructions for it. It's a little bit different. It's kind of like the Ridga from Bondtech, Fysetc Nano gear. It's this guy. Why are all their images all shrunk on their website? Lost my cursor. There we go. So it's this guy. It doesn't have the typical needle bearings inside of it. It uses two small bearings that go inside of here, and then it's got a couple spacers for you to do the offset. It's a little bit different, but it should be perfectly concentric, kind of like the Ridga and Idga from Bondtech. I'm just trying to get the gear meshing. My hex nut fell out. Hex nut fell out of its spot there. I didn't glue it. You're supposed to use a little bit of glue. So I guess better that it did it now than later. That's different. I like that it's one piece. I've had those grub screws walk out in a 14-hour print. That would absolutely suck. So I do have the Ridga in one of my other mini stealth burners. Both of my other mini stealth burners. So I'd have a FormBot V0.2 kit and a LDO, and the LDO I did it right away. And you guys see that hex nut fell out, so follow instructions and glue it in. We go get some CA glue. Got some thick Shore Bond. And I just want the tiniest amount so I don't interfere with the threading. Some of that excess. Pop that in there. And I've got some of their instant kicker as well. Turn away and do this, so I don't spray the kicker all over everything. I'll give that a second to completely set and get everything back going. So I was trying to get the filament pass set up correctly, and it wasn't turning, and I couldn't really figure out why. And it turns out it is because the nut was stuck in there. Have you guys been following any Smurf coverage and noticed anything cool being announced or shown off there? Smurf, did I say Murph or Smurf? I meant to say Smurf. I saw Nero did a stream, but I haven't caught it today. Thick with 2 C's. That's much better. When there's no nut blocking the path, it functions better. Who would have thought? And I think we can tension it a little bit more. And I think where I had actually loosened the anti-squish thing, I can probably tighten that back down now, because the only reason I did it was because I thought it was grabbing too positively. There's the anti-squish thingamajigger, as it's called in the instructions. just fan 1 and 2 blower fans. Now I recall in Steve's stream that when he hooked up all 3 of these wires, like the tachometer wire, that he had trouble with his electronics. One thing I do like is that Fysetc provides a printed wiring guide. That's pretty unique. But we need to refer to their video for how to LED lights, which are different. So these aren't sequins or any of the typical kind of LEDs that we use in Vorons, like these NeoPixels, which are commonly used in 3D printing and all sorts of like DIY stuff. These are proprietary, but they do fit really well into the build with these little PCBs. So they are keyed. There's a what is this, like a pH, JST pH, and it's needs to be put in the right way. So 5 volts, red, black is ground, and you can put it in like this, which would be reversed, I think. You could put it in like that and it would be backwards. So that's something I noticed. I don't suppose it matters which side you put either one on. Slide in. So to help it get down there a little bit. I think that's a little bit easier than doing like sequins or RGB sequins and a stealth burner. Wired up to their specialty tool head. So fan the first. Make sure the blower is facing down. I don't know why they included 3-wire fans in this kit. I'm not sure if their configuration is even set up to make use of the tachometer or not. I guess we'll find out. Or I can go back and look at Steve's stream. Not really a fan of... There's not even room for that yellow wire to go into that. Hey, Project in Dad's Garage. There's not even room for the yellow wire to fit in there. There's no way to get 3 wires in there. I don't know. I'm tempted to just cut out the yellow wire. Cut off. Seems like it's going to be overall a pain. Up a tiny bit. Did anybody watch Steve's build of this kit? Paul, kind of what he ended up doing with the yellow wire. Come together. There's gonna be a lot of wiring in a very small area. Oh, I need to put the motor plate screws back in after I took things apart. Does the audio sound decent today? Low. Let me know if I can turn the audio up a little bit or not. Add a little gain. Particularly the mic. First in there. Now we need to do, which fan is the hot end fan? Fan 0. Again, a yellow wire was not enough. Oh no, these two are not yellow wires. Fan 1, I think. Yeah, it's a 3 wire. It's gotta be fan 1. A little low. How about that? Is that any better? Check, check, mic, check. Music should not be that high. Is it even going right now? It is. Put the black tab and the wire will lay down there. Okay. But do I even need this yellow wire? I've never done any clipper, any fans and clipper with a tachometer. Doesn't look like the audio going to the right spot. It says music. Hopefully that audio is a little bit better in terms of my voice. So this fan, the 3 wires actually get in there pretty well. I'm not sure 100% if it will work without it or not. I recall in Steve's build, he wired everything up normally at first, and then I feel like towards the end he ended up like undoing the yellow wire because it was causing the compute module to go crazy or something weird like that. I guess we will find out in due time. This fan doesn't positively kind of snap into there. It kind of sits a little loosely. If it's PWM, you need it. We'll find out. Okay. But I thought PWM fans often can just run off a voltage. YouTube notifications that failed you. Hey, Father. I'll double check and make sure I set up everything correctly for next stream. It might not be your fault. The stream is public. Monetization. I think it's set up correctly, but who knows? I'm sorry, this is a 3010, not 4010 fan. Then we need the last blower fan. Have its wires run into the gap like that. That's not seating very well. Trying to make sure these spin freely. They're centered inside of their inlets, that they will actually be blowing down. Cool our parts. How we can do our motor. So somebody mentioned that by default, the way you set up the motor should have the wire going up, but I think, let me check their video. They might do it with the wire facing down because of their special tool board. Toolhead. No, they have wire up in this video. I blame YouTube. I almost never get Steve's till after 30 minutes. Okay. What size screws do we need? 3 by 10. They're meant to be too long because they will screw into our what are they called? Spacers. Dad's Garage, you mentioned you're working on a Doom Cube. What stage of building, planning, acquiring is that in? I'll tighten this one down reasonably tight. Close everything up and we can do our meshing. So this can wiggle back and forth and we want to get it so there's a tiny bit of movement here, but probably not that much. Down a little bit. So there's like a little iota of movement. Felt right to me. Just barely hear it kind of ticking. I don't like using the ball head. I think you have to for this side. Micron Doom Cube, okay. Printing parts and waiting for kits and parts from DFH. I haven't ordered from DFH in a little while. I've mostly been ordering from West 3D, KB 3D, and Fabrico. But there was some stuff that only DFH carried for a little while that I was frequently picking up from them. Think we're meshed okay. We should be able to see feel that the motor shaft turns when we move our gear. We know that everything is already at the meshing. You can tighten those down. And we need to prepare our hot end. So this hot end is the Selfish. It is a metal block, but it's got a ceramic heater, not a core, kind of like a bamboo style, which is interesting. This is my first hot end of this type. But hopefully that means it gets kind of the best of both worlds. It heats up well, but the massive block maybe holds the temperature pretty well. Does have 2 supports there, so I assume it supports one-hand nozzle change. I was at KB3D this afternoon picking up stuff. Got a Stealth Press 0 and other stuff. You're close enough to them. Where are they? Ohio? I know they had like an open house recently, if I recall correctly. That's pretty sweet. Our hot end came with hardware. We use it. Dump everything out just to get the 4 screws we need. What will be the backside of this? I think it's this way. Our wire's facing towards us right now. So far, I have used in mini stealth burners, I used the CHC, V6 CHC that came in the FormBot kit. Then I swapped it out for a Dragon High Flow, and I eventually swapped that out for a Rapido. In the LDO kit, I used the Voron Revo, and then now I'm using this guy. We'll see how it performs. I didn't see Steve mention anything about, is this the right screw? Doesn't seem to be threading. What was his buddy's name? Dana? Why is this screw not threading? Yeah, they're 2 hours from you in Ohio. I need a filament, and they carry ambrosia as well. And my last unique color is held up in shipping from West 3D. So KB 3D was nice enough to let me come grab some. Nice. I like pretty much everybody I've met. Hector from Fabrico has been really nice to me. All the guys from West 3D, all the guys from KB 3D. I'm using some of the wrong screws, I think. Are some of these 2.5 and some of them M3? Or did I have it in a bad orientation? I know the Dragon mount technically has 6 screw holes, and if you rotate it kind of the wrong way, it won't align correctly. Looks like FormBot may have changed to this hot end too, not sure. Though as the kit from them is late too. Jeez. Yeah, they have switched to something very similar to this. I was trying to help somebody in the V0 questions Discord channel and assumed that they had the same hot end I did, but they did not. So I think they've switched to something like this. Maybe the Triangle Labs version, I think he said. Dark Third Dimension managed to fix my V0. Turns out the strain relief for the umbilical cable is rather important. Yes. Were you getting disconnects? I don't know if I mentioned it the last time we were talking, but pretty much every time I start a print or change filament or anything like that, I have strain relief set up on both ends of my umbilical, and I always kind of press and reseat those. I don't know if those Molex style connectors or microfit, whatever they are the best for that. That's going to be something that's going to be very interesting about this kit. It's got a very different style. Well, I guess this is Molex like, but it's got strain relief kind of built in on both sides. So I think they had issues with the umbilical that they were using and decided to go their own completely bespoke route. But I'm glad you were able to figure out what was wrong with it. If it was cutting off in the middle of prints or getting like a thermal runaway, it sounds like the culprit was likely the umbilical. Yes, you could say I was getting disconnects. The cable was snapping and breaking clean off. Okay, yeah. PTF E-tube. Where is my measuring tool? So they give you so much 2mm inner diameter PTF E-tube when you only use this for the hot end. It's kind of funny how much they give to you. That looks nice and square, although it doesn't really want to fit through this tool. Help it a little bit. Still a tighter fit than I would like. Loving my left-handed blades for the CNC kitchen deburring tool. Feels correct using it. So we're going to press that in as far down as it will go. Mate everything up, and I can either use the X-Acto or my Capricorn snipper. Which one will I find first? I'm seeing the X-Acto. I don't see my Capricorn cutter. Yeah, the extra PTFE tube is nice. Interestingly enough, their reverse Bowden tube isn't PTFE. It's is it what's the other common material for Bowden tube? The see-through kind. Ugh, see that didn't trigger anybody. 6 millimeter. Step, yes. So here's where we have to mind this yellow wire. Maybe this is where you were saying to snip off that little black tab so that it would actually fit in there. Because it is not doing so at the moment. I mentioned it, but I will be putting a dragon burner into the FormBot build soon. That'll be the first time I'll be using the dragon burner. I need to kind of bundle some stuff up together. 3 wires going up through that way. I guess it'll depend on where stuff is from the tool head. We need M3 by 35 millimeter screws. We actually have quite a bit of these, and I don't think we use them for very much. I ended up doing a manual color change for the hot end. That's supposed to be like the visor of Genji, the Overwatch character. Who I used to main when I actually played Overwatch. Well, I wouldn't say main. I was a pretty flex player. And we can bring the printer back up. So let's see what we can put away. Probably these 25 millimeters. Those 35. Um, the side cutters. 2 I'll leave out. The 1.5 I can probably put away. I designed this little cap for the top of the deburring tool. It'll fit pretty much all of them, I think. But I did actually cut myself once, kind of trying to reach for it in my kind of tool holder. So a little bit of cleaning up. Some space for printer to come back up here and attach the print head. Is that a Z fold? Asking because I have one also. Is what a Z fold? I need to cut down my belt. Words are hard. You can attach that from the front. The phone. It is just a Pixel with my wallet on the back. This is the Pixel 8 Plus or 8 Pro. With a moment case on it, so I can attach some higher quality lenses. Words. It's not even that late yet. How do you like the Z Fold? The phone, yeah. All right, I think our belts were in pretty good shape. I do have a link to the assembled and the part hardware set for this guy somewhere in the description. Nope. I was trying to get 2.1, but it's coming out to like 2 now, so I've got plenty of room to adjust. We're gonna cut them. Cut them up. Then we can mount this guy. Start our cable management. The hard part is that you have to make sure that all these bundled wires don't end up running too far into the belts or the side or back of the printer or anything like that. Focus where I want you to, please. Light over here. So where, if anywhere, are we going to get interference? Every time I move this printer and all of those freaking nuts shift around, it scares the crap out of me. The Z Fold is really good, really happy with it. I have the 5. The big screen is great controlling printers through network interface without having to go to a computer. Nice. I actually have been using what is it called? Chris, who comes into Steve Streams, makes it Octo app recently. It can control my 2 still remaining bed slingers that aren't on Clipper, as well as my Clipper printers now. So we've got a cable management point up here. Here. We're gonna have to start to do the toolhead stuff now. We have to get this dumb screw, which has always been annoying for me, that goes into the motor plate. That's a 16, which is another kind of rare size that we don't use very much. On my Formbot build, I could not get this to thread to save my life. I had to like half unbuild the stealth burner like 3 times to get this to thread into that little hex nut. And I'm actually having trouble too. So what I'll do is I'll loosen it up from the front to allow me to kind of wiggle it around to get this guy made it up. I do kind of wish I had gotten the CNC carriage from Fabrico for this printer. There we go. I hope. And yeah, I'm having kind of the same issue here. That was a pain on the LEO kit too. I think it's, yeah, just a little bit inherent in the design of the printer. I need to go down more or up. I wish I could see a little bit. Let me figure out how to align it. That started? Yes. You got to make sure you don't use too long of a screw because that screw will go through the back of the motor plate and hit your gear on the opposite side if you don't use the right length. That's the best way I found to do it, is just to loosen up those front ones enough so that you have a lot of wiggle room to kind of get things self-aligned. This was all manual filament changes too. I still don't have my MMU3 set up, and I don't have like an ERCFA or a tool changer printer or anything like that. No AMS Bamboo Lab printers. Hopefully this year that's a lot more prevalent, is like good color changing, quality of life stuff. Need our 2 long spacers here. These are a different length, I think, than the standard ones. They're special toolhead board. I'm going to switch over to their video. Although, don't know if they have a video of new version of the Catalyst toolhead board. Yeah, that doesn't show the toolhead board. That's not much help. So this is their old version, which was basically a V0 umbilical that they custom did, but now they've got a completely new tool head. Which actually has connectors on both sides, which is pretty unique. I guess this side goes forward, so we've got heat, which is a nice big thick JST, which is good to see. Got RGB, which is keyed, so I shouldn't be able to put it in backwards. Then fan. I've got a wiring guide. Should probably use it. I think they have this mislabeled. Because they have this labeled as fan 0, but that is... That doesn't seem right. Our thermistor has to plug in somewhere. Thermistor hot in is down on the bottom left. What else is on the back of the board? The other RGB. IO12. I'm not sure what that's for. I think it's empty. So RGB E motor is up at the top. Oh, it's at the bottom. Not sure how I feel about this having connectors on both sides of the board. It's obviously quite trick and unique, but feels a little finicky. And then I think the only thing we have left is our fan 0 and fan 1, which are on the back. Isn't that a 4-pin? Oh, it is. These are 4-pin connectors, even though there are only 3 wires. That's an interesting choice. Fan 0 goes in the top left. And 1 goes in the top right. And the other fan 0 goes in the middle right. I can screw this guy down. I don't know if this is the correct order of operations for this, but let's double check everything. Fan 0, fan 1, fan 0, thermistor for the hot end. On the back side, we got heater, RGB and RGB, and extruder. I think we're okay. What size screws do we need to use to mount this? I do like having a printed wiring guide. That's pretty nice. It's probably like M3x6. They don't need to be very long. What does this say to use? 3x8. Yeah, none of their videos have like actual up-to-date installation instructions for this Toolhead board. It's not like it's impossible to figure out. It's just like, how much are they probably paying for support for a lot of answers that could be solved with just like a PDF? It's easier to get set up than some of the CAN boards, but just wish they had good documentation for it. Get our zip ties out. Oot. I put them this time. Soldering iron is still a little hot. Shouldn't it have turned off by now? I thought there was an auto off or idle timer on the soldering iron, the TS101. As Brian looks for parts, I just used them yesterday. I have plenty. Dad's Garage, do you have anything special planned for the, was it a Micron Doom Cube? I guess it's going to be based off the FormBot kit you said. Which I've heard decent things about in terms of the quality of the kit. Well, of course you do, yeah. Well, I saw you mention you don't think you're gonna do the that gantry mod that I think Renovic mentioned. There's a ridiculous amount you can do with any custom printer these days. It's just kind of like, what's your vision? What do you want out of the printer? To be a workhorse, to be a tool changer. I'm not sure if you follow 3D Print SOS, but he has the FormBot Micron, what is it, 180 plus or something like that, and he's turning it into a tool changer, not a Doom Cube, but just a tool changer. White Doom extrusions, I'll send you a picture of the color on Discord. Got it. Ooh, what's the name of that extruder toolhead? Is that the ant? I saw it. Is that Hart K's newest toolhead? We got pretty good clearance on the back left. Need to do the same for the right. Yeah, ant head, that's what it's called. I'm so far behind. I'm just now going to be doing a dragon burner soon. And there's like 16 new. Armchair Engineering has a new one, right? The guy who makes Zoll. I believe he's got a new one coming out. Not sure if Chirpy has anything particularly new. I need to build more printers. I am the type of person that once I get a printer going and like it's kind of serving as a workhorse, I'm a little hesitant to really go in and make it over, kind of like Steve does. He'll go in and rebuild something and do like a whole bunch of new stuff. Got an Orbiter 2.5 for it. There's a new version of Dragon Burner, angles the air ducts for better high-speed print cooling. Better, okay, because it's already way better than Mini Stealth Burner, and probably Stealth Burner. Most people would argue, right? The previous version of Dragon Burner. Oh, I missed one. See if this works with these cheapo ones. Some zip ties you can kind of squeeze the sides of them, and it'll nope, can't do it with these. Some thicker zip ties, if you squeeze the side of them right, you can actually reuse them. There's a guy on Instagram who he's an airplane mechanic, and he does videos of like people will say something about, an airplane, and he'll correct them and talk about, how things actually work and stuff. And then he goes on to these crazy rants about Lord of the Rings, or not rants, but just kind of like monologues. And I think I saw it from him. Run a Dragon Burger on a Trident, got a 7-minute benchy with it. Nice. A good looking benchy, not a benchy resembling print. There is a cable cover for this, so maybe I shouldn't put zip ties on there. Because this needs to be able to slide over the top. Yeah. I kind of just want to get all of this stuffed into the side area here. Oh, and it looks like I'll screw into that with all four of them. Video on YouTube, I'll check it out. I get into these spots where I either am watching a ton of content on YouTube and I don't make any content or stream myself, or I am trying to make content and stream myself and then I don't end up watching any content. I don't know if that makes any sense. I can't find like a good middle ground. But I like watching content because it like inspires me and kind of makes me think about content I want to make. So it wants everything to duck in like underneath this little lip, I think. Wire management. Wasn't the prettiest print in the world. I figure it's on the back of the printer, so. You have to figure out a setup to stream and do it decent. Half the content I've been watching lately is on like how to improve my stream or get a good stream setup. And I spend more time trying to improve my stream than I actually do streaming. It's like a, I don't know, would that be a catch-22? Maybe we do need 8s. Go through the back of this print. Actually, we need quite long screws. I should watch that, but wow, it seems like a good way for me to spend a whole lot of money you don't have. I can definitely attest to that. That is an affirmative. Yeah, and there's no docs on this, so I'm kind of just guessing that this is the way it's supposed to go. I do have Steve's stream up. That I can refer to if I need to. Yeah, looks like he has screws to the back of that. What length of screws did he use? Oh, there's two standoffs used for this part. Where did he see that? I had no idea. The standoff into a standoff. Makes a little bit more sense. Yo dog standoff. Again, we might be back down to M6 and 3x6. I'm not sure how Steve knew to do that. I don't think there's anything on the GitHub that shows how to do this. I used a much longer screw to screw the standoff in. I can get it back out. Anybody have a better technique to screw standoffs in than put a screw in the back of it? Tighten up the standoff and then back out the screw. Now Steve has a special little driver thingamajigger. But yeah, Dad's Garage. There's a whole ecosystem and kind of like content creation YouTube scene. There's like podcasts about starting podcasts and how to run a successful podcast. It's so crazily utterly meta, easy to get lost in, and very easy to spend a whole lot of money. But I do like trying to, you know, improve my stream over time. It's partially for the viewer, partially for my love of tech. And constant need to change and improve stuff. Not long enough. Try an 8. Now I'm going to reprint this because the back of this print is so ugly. I think this is one of the last things I realized I needed to print. Not reaching. Try a 10. For me with streaming, I've noticed I just need to kind of figure out ways to stop putting hurdles in front of myself and just make sure I stream. Things will go not to plan. Things will improve. What am I missing here? Oh, is this blocking it? These have the same Z offset, so these need to be the same distance out. There we go. It just wasn't aligned right. Pay no attention to the terribly ugly print. I'm gonna try to get all these wires like tucked in such that they're not getting pinched, and that's not proving easy. The best way to do a thing is just to do it. Absolutely. I am the king of overthinking things. Stressing about stuff. Half the time when I have an idea about doing something, I should probably just like do the path of least resistance to get started and actually do it. So this is a little finicky, I'm not gonna lie. Kind of cool that it's covered. And the strain relief being built in is nice, but I even have the benefit of having watched Steve stream and having it up, and it's still kind of not proven to be extremely easy. A stream within a stream is a streamception. Yeah, probably shouldn't play his whole stream, but I'm using it as reference. I don't think Steve will mind, but so this is what I'm kind of a little bit concerned with. Mm. Oh, I snapped that. I think they just need to cut off even more material here so that these wires, that bundle of wires, can pass through a little bit more easy. Do we have all the screws in and tightened down? Thought we were done with the tool head like a half an hour ago. I'll probably revisit it and clean some stuff up sometime down the road. Electronics. So this is fairly unique as well. Need our second acrylic piece. On my next build, I definitely want to get some custom laser etched stuff from Pathetic Puma. I think that would be pretty cool. This paper does rip off or peel off quite easily compared to as soon as I say that. It's not as painful as other acrylic I've had to peel. Heard people say to hit it with a heat gun. Probably my best bet is to peel straight up at a 90-degree angle from the surface, and it helps prevent it from ripping. These are not symmetrical. There used to be one there. So you gotta get these stupid nuts lined up. I think we'll use the standoffs as opposed to screws. Got 6 standoffs. I'm hoping the electronics will be pretty quick. Which way did I knock that nut? The end of a zip tie works fairly well to kind of help get these into place. When the nut is just slightly slid out of place. Line them up. Screwdriver there. Slide it back down. Oh, I luckily caught that perfectly. Couldn't do that again if I tried. Or if I could just go from the bottom up and do it that way from the start next time. Or if I had to do it again. Finally found something you want to print with that goals, using it for the stuff press. Ooh, that should be fun. I just went with pretty plain boring for my VLMP, but a stealth press, I feel like it's a nice enough kind of design that it would benefit from being kind of a cool color combo. It's basically a Voron. And we can put our Mobo onto here. This just has a little foot for the Ethernet jack that I guess just presses into that. I have this the wrong way. All these holes aren't aligning right. I did something wrong. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Wish I had silver to go with it, but Galaxy Super Blue will be. I have to see if it looks decent. I think it'll look pretty good. Mine is looking very different from theirs. I did it completely upside down. And they also use those washers. I thought when I looked at the video, oh, I had, yeah, that's the wrong orientation. Some of them. Here I go on building again. Blue and gold should be a good combo. This goes like this. Go to Steve's video. That side. So What are these two screws for? Those two stand off, those two stand off, and those two are screws? Yes. What size screws? Gosh, I really wish this was just 3x6 in a PDF. Washer, no. Zip tie is perfect for catching the nut and getting it in perfectly in place. Finally, I think that's what these. Hey, Phil. Welcome. I think I finally found out what these washers are for. So these are M3 by 1mm washers, and I kept wondering what they were for the whole time in the rest of the build when we were using the M3 by 0.5mm. And now I know. School's out for summer here. I'm taking time to chill before chores. Where are you at, Phil? Again, I don't know if that's the best way to do this. Australia, that makes sense. It's the opposite season. So what does your school term usually run? School terms. Three by sixes again. I was at the gym. I coach at a CrossFit gym, and one of our members is Australia. Is she from New Queensland a place, or am I making that up? but we talked about how seasons are swapped. 4 10-week terms with 2-week breaks starting the beginning of February. Okay. 4 10-week terms. Do you have any projects going on, like maker projects, builds? Queensland. Okay, not New Queensland. That's the other side of the continent. Yeah, it's kind of easy to miss how big Australia is. Do you not do anything with those screws up here? Is that for strain relief or something? No, it doesn't look like they have any screws in any of those screw holes. So maybe that's for a different configuration. Double check on Steve's builds. West Australia fits Texas like 8 times? What? That's funny because we always use Texas as an example of like how small Europe is. But we can plug these guys in. I do love how short these AB motor runs are. I kind of just remember having to spend time to hide giant links of AB motors, or giant AB motor links in the other V0 builds. We can also plug this guy in. But I think this plate needs to go in. Is there a little tiny plate, or is that a print? There it is. This guy, I think, goes in there. I'm gonna start some streaming as soon as I get a bunch of beta gear that's under NDA put away. Yeah, you don't want to be that guy. Just get some blankets, and then you'll have plenty of engagement in your streams. People trying to guess what it is. Get some oddly shaped boxes that are nothing like what the actual NDA'd stuff is, and then engagement farm. Like that's something Narrow would do. And pull straight up. Might have to disassemble. Get this in there. Order of operations. It's acrylic, it actually bends. YouTube streaming, don't know. Spell check, got that wrong. I kind of guessed. Streaming's a lot of fun. It's a balance. I'd probably get stuff done faster if I wasn't streaming, but I enjoy talking to people while I'm doing stuff where I'd normally be in here alone. Also have people who are smarter than me and or more experienced helping, which is always nice. Usually nice. This community is so good that nobody's like too much of a opinionated know-it-all. Pretty much everybody's interested in helping each other out. We can put our driver heat sinks on. When I was doing the unboxing, somebody noted that their Fysetc kit did not come with these, but obviously mine did. So not sure if that was a miss or if they've changed the kit. Teach high school? Okay. So when the term's out, it's like all the stuff you've been wanting to do. You gotta try to rush to get it done or start it. Science and engineering, so I just chat away while doing things to students. So streaming won't be much different. Yeah. And honestly, I mean, let's see, where's our Z motor connector? Right here. I think I can just start hooking stuff up to stuff. Get our wiring guide back out. Z motor is here. That's a very short run without very much excess cable. Bed plus and minus. Where's my Phillips head? Take a stubby and put an overly long driver on it for comedic value. Bed plus. Bed minus. Both pass the pull test. Can I kind of wrap those around the Z motor and get some natural D-in stop and thermistor? That's input voltage. Fan. D-in stop is way up here. And it is second from the left. I mean, this wiring should be much easier than pretty much any other V0 I've done. I guess it would be probably similarly easy with a Manta from like Big Tree Tech, but so this isn't long enough to make it all the way under. So I am not going to put in the filament runout sensor. I'm actually going to use a LDO orbiter filament runout sensor, which I don't have. It's on its way here. But Steve did note in his build that the filament runout sensor switch they give you is wired incorrectly. It should be normally closed, and I think this is wired normally open. So yeah, this is normally open. Or it's normally closed. Or maybe it is right. I'm not sure. The one in his, he swapped these two leads. So pay attention to that. I think it should be normally closed so that if the switch broke, it would continue to run and actually print. It was normally open and the switch broke. It would stop your print, I think. A motor, B motor. Put there, filament runout sensor, Z end stop. Z motor, fan 2. One in the foot is so unreliable. You took yours out, yeah. It's less important for filament sensing, but ideally you want it to be triggered with wiring filled, yeah. Yeah, it is less important for filament, but not a whole lot else. AB motor, our display cable. Is this, it's keyed. This is gonna have to run all the way down here, across the underside of the printer. And our fan. And then our VN is the only other thing we need to wire. So this will be super, super clean once this is done. Do you have any printer projects or CNC projects going on, Phil? I don't know why I defaulted to Philip. I need to stop being lazy and install this camera I have sitting next to me on the switch wire. What kind of camera is it? USB or one that goes right into the Pi? I forget what that connector is called. Kind of sort of unofficially just using Steve's stream as a little bit of a build guide at this point. I need filament boxes or spools to suspend the printer because the print head is now on. Like printer jack stands. Let me bring back up the. I need to figure out a camera for a micron. Pi camera, gotcha. I have a Pi camera in the LDO. I just figured out how to hook up a like Canon or Sony like camera via USB to a Pi, and there's a Linux library that will lets you trigger at layer change, it taking a picture, so you can get really, really high res time lapses. Oh, you're beta testing V2 stuff? That's interesting. Don't tease us like that. That's not secured very well, Brian. I mean, there's like 13 pages of stuff that we skip for the most part. AC inlet is here. Nope. AC inlet is where? Oh, I have one more bin across the room that I moved. And I found the cable ties. Power AC inlet. Their switch is turned around compared to what's in the Voron dock. I just use Logitech C55s now, so tired of PyCams dying all the time. Never said who you beta for. Gonna be a taco beta tester. So it's parts on your 2.4, maybe not 2.4 parts, or a new 2.4 version. Did we already mount the PSU? Supposed to have. I still am finicky about VH being down PSU. 100 degrees Fahrenheit outside. That's a little hot. What is 100 degrees Fahrenheit? Like, wild guess, 35 degrees Celsius? Yes, hang out for as long as you like. Giving all of these a nice little pull test. 38C. I was close. I'm trying to learn C. The only thing I don't like about Celsius for weather is I don't feel like it's quite as granular as Fahrenheit. Everything else I could probably convert over to, but like to me, saying like 72 degrees Fahrenheit, I know feels really, really different than 78, and I feel like Celsius doesn't have quite that much granularity. F minus 38 divided by 1.8. Let's see. So if you divide by 2 and subtract dividing by 0.2, I can't math without a calculator anymore. Did Steve say that he has a power supply mount somewhere on GitHub? Minus 32, not 38. Gotcha. Printer stuff. Issue. No. I thought Steve said that he has like a print file for mounting an LRS 150 to rails. I guess he went ahead and I guess not. I guess he just VHB on the. I don't think I've seen anyone do anything other than VHB for the V0. You're probably right. He uses these little things as spacers. What would I do without Steve building the printer? I'm building right before I do. I think I watched probably 2 or 3 of his V0 builds or rebuilds before I built mine. My let's see, my V0 I printed hooks to make sure the VHB had some help. Gotcha. Not enough room. Yeah, not enough room below to kind of do anything else. Everything has gotten attached to the side of this VHB tape. Apparently, if actually 3M, the form bot did not include legit 3M VHB. It was unbranded. I maybe could have given this an alcohol wipe down. Just for holding your sideboard PSU is held in with 2 screws. Oh, so they go through the deck into some of the screws. I've been building stuff this past year. No one has built or at least hasn't done videos on, so you just made things up. They sandwich between the PSU and the 1515 and clip into the extrusions. Then VHB holds the PSU into place. Gotcha. So you VHB onto a printed part and then screw the printed part into the extrusions. I need to print out the Irby before next stream. Anyone watch the F1 race today? Or yesterday, depending on where you were? Yellow is PE. Blue is neutral and red is live. F1 is no good without Murray Walker. Does anybody care about spoilers, I guess? Just need to use the shortest screws you can get away with. Gotcha. Nobody cares about spoilers. I'll talk about the race. Hamilton's my favorite driver. Red Bull is not my favorite team. I don't know what I'm going to do. I've been rooting for Mercedes since I got back into F1. So I used to watch F1 back in like the Michael Schumacher days when like the only thing they would ever show on ESPN was like the Monaco Grand Prix. And then the rest you had to watch on like Speed Vision or something else. So I watched back then kind of fell out of it. Lewis Hamilton came back came into the sport in 2008. Was that his rookie year or 2007? I watched a little bit then, and then when he switched over to Merck. Well, I watched a little bit when Michael Schumacher came back with Merck, and who was it? Him and Rosberg. And then once Lewis switched over to Merck, I saw the Top Gear episode that he was on, and that kind of kicked me back into watching F1. And I think I've watched every single race since then. So what was that, 2014? Hello, Dom. Hey, Renovic. Everybody's here. The gang's all here. So Lewis is my favorite. So I've been rooting for Merck. I did like the fact that they kind of came back into the sport. So what were they? They won the championship. They were Honda, and then they were Braun, and then Mercedes bought out Braun. So they were like 3 different teams in 3 different years. F1 team history is like confusing as heck. But we're gonna get a new team. We're gonna get Cadillac. That's kind of exciting. That would have been a heck of a shakeup if he would have gone to Red Bull. I mean, it's a pretty big shakeup for him to go to Ferrari as well. I grew up during Mansell, Nigel Mansell, Ayrton Senna, Ayrton. I think the Brazilians say Ayrton. They like double pronounce the A, and Prost. Senna Prost was pretty crazy. I don't think we'll ever see a teammate rivalry that intense again. I love F1. sometimes I get frustrated when we can't really tell who the fastest driver is because the teams are so disparate. You know what I mean? You could have a magnificent driver on a terrible team, and it's hard for me to 100% say, yes, I feel the driver who won the championship was the fastest driver. I'm tired of Red Bull, Mercedes winning. And you like Red Bull? Yeah, so maybe, McLaren won the constructors. We'll see if next year things get shaken up. It'll be the last year of these regulations, so hopefully the field is closed a whole lot. Your Trident colors are based on McLaren. Their current color, I've seen a couple people who've done golf builds, and they look really good. That kind of like lightish blue, and I'm not sure the orange. Maybe a martini color scheme would be pretty cool, like Williams martini. Everything seems okay down here. We got to get the fan mounted. No denying Max is a hell of a driver. True. Um, I just wish that like for half the season, all the racers drove in equal machinery, and then for the rest of the season, like they did a baseline round robin of everybody having the same spec car. It would get away from the kind of nature of F1, but I don't know. I hate it that sometimes there's a really, really good driver and they're just on a team that's struggling and they can't express how good they are. You got to race Go-Karts. Brands Hatch is probably my favorite track. It's absolutely the track I have the most time on. I got iRacing and I would just drive Brands Hatch over and over and over again. And Donington. I don't know Donington quite as well. You got to hang out with Nigel Mansell? That's pretty epic. Does Mansell have a corner named after him? I feel like most people have a corner or street at a British track named after them. Lewis has a street in Silverstone. Graham Hill has Graham Hill at Brands Hatch. Feel like that comment is about Hamilton there. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna like full on root for Ferrari. I liked both Carlos and Charles. Carlos has got to feel a little hard done by as well as he did. Mansell does, but you don't remember where it is. It's not at like a. It's got to be at a British track, right? It's not like at Malaysia or something weird. When did Steve do the fan? There's something weird about the fan in this build. It's like off to the side. While we're down here, we can do the VN. I don't remember where I actually put that wire. It's getting late and I'm getting slightly forgetful. We need this fan. And we need those that red and black wire pair with spade connectors on each end. Silverstone was the third track. It's like 30 years. What did I do with those wires? Oh, I put it back here with the VHB tape for some inexplicable reason. Round 1 in V1. Plus. Minus. But yes, I was saying I like both Charles and Carlos. Carlos and Carlos. I used to be annoyed by Ferrari back before Bonotto. What was it? Arriva Bene. I got annoyed that they got like special treatment, kind of. They got like, what was it? Like they get paid no matter what because they're a classic team somehow. A historical team. Like maybe Williams do too. They had that little bit of a cheating scandal where it seemed like they were pumping raw oil into somewhere so that they get extra power. And then the FIA just made a ruling that said you can't do that, and they never really got in trouble for it as far as I know. That perturbed me a little bit. I'm going to trace through all this wiring like one more time to make sure I have everything correctly before we do a power on eventually. That might or might not be tonight. I've been to Laguna Seca the most in real life and virtually. I like Laguna Seca a lot too. It was in Gran Turismo 4, and I drove the heck out of that track on Gran Turismo 4. It's definitely one of the like first real life tracks I felt like I knew by heart. Like I can run a make believe map or make believe lap in my head right now of Laguna Seca. Negative N, positive N, plus bed, minus bed. Everything kind of just feeds up through here. Yeah, Sega was Sega and GT4 was a blast. I used to play that game. I think I had like 15 saves of it, and I would try to get as far as I could without buying a car. I don't know, it was just the way I like to play those games. So you get prize cars for getting your licenses and getting golds on them. So I would use those cars in every single race I could and then soup them up and like try to complete the game without buying a single car. I think I was able to do it in like maybe one. I don't know if it was possible in any other games. Uh, what do we need to do next? Steve's doing skirts. I don't have the one piece skirts this time around. Where does he do the fan? Where are my skirts? It's gonna be kind of hard to get all of these screws in the right spot. But I guess you can just do the and wiring was so easy. M3 by 6. Oh, I have mesh backed. So I might not be able to screw them in the way I expect unless I cut out. I haven't played PlayStation in 20 years. I mean, when did GT4 come out? 2004? So that would have been about the right time. I have the modern GTs, but haven't really played them nearly to the extent I used to play that game. We used to have slumber parties at my friend's house, just playing Gran Turismo all night, like Gran Turismo 1 and 2. Sim racing kind of is one of the reasons I started to watch F1 again. We used to watch Top Gear at work during our lunch breaks. We just like put it on in the lunchroom and watch old episodes, and then they interview Lewis and other drivers. Like I remember Vettel's episode. And that kind of got me inspired to watch F1 again. But I watch all the forms of motorsports now. I like GT cars a lot. In terms of driving, they like make more sense to me. Cars with downforce kind of feel hard to grasp. Rest in peace to Top Gear and Grand Tour. Yeah. Don't they have that Drive Tribe YouTube channel now that used to collaborate with Jimmy Broadbent and Donut Media a little bit? They had like James May come in and roast all the Donut Media cars. I haven't ever tried Forza. I've tried Horizon, but it's not the same. Yeah, Horizon's more of like a free roam, kind of hoon around and have fun type game. I guess you can. Well, there's no open world in Gran Turismo or Forza Motorsport, but Motorsport's obviously more about real style racing. Although my experience in like Forza Online is that everybody just crashes into each other. Nobody leaves each other's space. People use other cars as brakes. But hey, that happens in F1 sometimes too. So I don't actually have a printer that can print ABS that's big enough to do the single piece skirts. So that's the reason I don't have them. Steve made some, but that's kind of a reason I need something like a Trident. I've got a Prusa that I can put inside of a makeshift enclosure, but it's not great. I love the Daytona prototypes. Went to see them GT class run. It's fun to see two vastly different. Yeah, multi-class racing is pretty ridiculous. I watched some IMSA and some WEC. Not as much right now. Like watching the coverage, I don't feel like it's as good as F1. You just can't tell who is where, and I feel like the broadcast, they have a harder time kind of making you care about every single subplot, whereas F1 coverage, like I know all 20 drivers, I know all 10 teams, I know about where they all are in the championship together, and I kind of care about it more. But in multi-class racing, there's just so many teams and cars. It's hard to keep track. Le Mans is great. Daytona 24 hours is pretty sweet. Sebring. I was talking about things that frustrated me about F1. I love seeing cars going through multiple corners, wheel to wheel, like battling but giving each other space. And I feel like that's just not really a thing in F1 anymore, and that frustrates me. In other classes of racing like GT and WEC, you see it a little bit more often. Although WEC, sometimes the races are so long, the cars end up so far apart, you can't. All right, Amazon wants to keep Grand Tour going, but it won't be Jeremy, James, and Richard. So they're going to try to do a Top Gear. Amazon is reasonable pop-up tent enclosures, like $20 often. I seen that Matt was the only presenter that came after that was any good. I like it and have participated, but endurance racing is mostly boring. Not much you can do about it. I'd like to do like a 24-hour of lemons. Have you heard of those series or races where you like buy a car that can't cost over $3,000, you do some basic mods to it, strip it down. Some people will actually like swap the motor and stuff like that, but the idea is just you're trying to keep a car that barely runs running for 24 hours, and since all the cars are pretty slow, it makes for surprisingly good racing. 24-hour of lemons. Sorry if I'm blocking everything with my gigantic head. Yeah, any kind of local motorsport, there's always worry about. Like grassroots racing is pretty good in many regards, but it can have some annoying parts about it. I'm fairly close to VIR and went there for a photo shoot once to help shoot stuff, but I haven't raced there. I'd like to. I've got like a little Volkswagen GTI that's fun to drive, but I haven't really done anything to it. But I guess that doesn't mean that I can't take it out and do a track day. That race is getting stupid lately. I did 2 years of 25 hours at Thunder Hill as pit crew. It was pretty neat. Oh, you have a GTI too? I've got a 2017 Mark 7 Autobahn. So it's got the diff upgrade and the nice brakes. I got it secondhand, but the guy babied it. It had like 24,000 miles on it when I got it in 2022. So in 4 years, he had barely driven it. Granted, like kind of 2 of those years were COVID and he worked from home, so you just stopped driving it. But yeah, I love that car. There's a really easy and straightforward upgrade path of all those MQB type cars. My buddy's got an Audi and he's like, yeah, man, we can just do like bypass valve, turbo inlet, stage something exhaust, this kind of piggyback tune, so and so and so and so. And it's like, it'll be like $3,500 and you'll be, good to go. I've had an MK6 since 2012. It was pretty tuned up, stage 2 ECU, all supporting mods and some suspension at one point, but I've taken it back to stock since. Gotcha. Virginia's a little strict on, we have inspection, and I guess now with mods, when you do like tunes and stuff, you can kind of switch modes on them pretty easily. I remember helping my friend put in like a piggyback thing, and it was such a pain in the butt to kind of revert it for doing emissions testing. And the officials in Virginia are pretty like strict on stuff, depending on where you go. I would like to like maybe lower it a bit. And do a few things. I don't know if you've ever heard of Mighty Car Mods. I watch them a lot. They're Aussies like Phil. And they have this whole sequence of mods that they typically do to cars, and they did a whole series on the GTI. So getting the front skirts out. I'm not really going in order of the manual at the moment. I'm kind of just doing stuff as I talk. You're in California, so CARB legal parts of and having to program it back to stock. That's ultimately why I detuned. It was a hassle every 2 years. I've got a 6-speed manual. Although my friend said that he's got his Audi is DSG, and he said he can do a little bit more tuning. The manual clutches, the stock manual clutches, and a lot of those MQBs, he said will give out if you put a certain level of tuning on them. So that's like a supporting mod that you end up having to do. What VW did, attach the car to emissions control to the GPS. It passes at the test center. There you go. It's funny how a whole manufacturer, one of the biggest auto manufacturers in the world, if you consider like all of VAG, Volkswagen Audi group, they just cheated on emissions. But if we do that, we'd probably go to jail or something. How much money did they have to pay for that? Because I feel like Europe is like no joke with a lot of their. I am missing the little insert piece to this guy, but I honestly am planning on doing the Maple Leaf Makers mod where you can put a little backer on here and put a rainbow barf or other NeoPixel in there, and then you print out a semi-transparent part, and you get an extra set of LEDs. Completely visual and useless, but kind of want to do it. Delivery here, 5 new Revo OBX. Oh, you just got took delivery of Revo Obsidian nozzles, or like the whole. Are you doing a tool changer by chance? If you've got 5 of some type of Revo? Now I'm just trying to fish information out of you. I have DSG and it's great and quicker, but way less fun than manual shifting. Yeah, I like doing some unnecessary heel shift or heel toe shifting, downshifting, and rev matching and stuff like that. Like really driving around on the streets, you probably don't really ever need to do it because you shouldn't be decelerating at a rate which it's necessary, but it is a lot of fun. I've got a simulator right over there that is not currently like in the best working shape. How can I show it to you guys? That's my racing sim that I'm using somewhat to monitor my stream right now. So that's where I try to get my motorsport kicks at the moment. Obsidians for stealth changer, gotcha. But yeah, my friend said that he knew 3 or 4 people with 5 or 6-speed manuals that did kind of the basic stage 2 mod, and their clutch ended up giving out. So basically they recommended doing the clutch when you kind of get up to a lot of the stage 2 stuff. There's a DAP Deutsch Auto Parts or dapshop.com. They're in Charlotte. And he lives right by them. Oh, display stuff. I don't have the display stuff done, so we're not going to do that today. Stock clutch is pretty weak. I almost said stock clutch is pretty clutch. We can do the rear skirt, which has some special stuff to it. So the kit does include, thought we were frozen for a second, these 2 guys, which can be screwed onto the back here. Presumably M3 screws, so that you have a pass-through for Ethernet. Needs to go that way. So we'll do that. 5 Obsidian high flows on Black Friday sale from local store. 50 USD each, way cheaper than A3D. Nice. Were they like getting rid of stock or something? That is pretty cheap. If that was the normal price of Obsidians, I'd be very happy. Philip, you said you got a stealth changer? I get a little confused because there's a few different changer mods, right? That are based around kind of Voron projects. Is there like tap changer and stealth changer? And one of them you can do like drag and burner on it if you want. I'd need like a 2.4 before I even thought about doing them, or a micron. So I'm using M3x10s to screw this extension on. The other one is somewhere here. Found some random magnets I had laying on. You're running a little low on M3x10s. You gotta be a good kid and put most of them in a box so kids can give them to you for Christmas. Oh boy. Buying your own Christmas gifts. I guess that's a good way to not be disappointed. One of the reasons I actually built a Voron, I was just thinking about it, is so that I could print ABS more easily, so that I could do some more 3D printed sim racing parts. Especially stuff around the motor can get really, really hot, and PLA was occasionally deforming. So I wanted to do some higher temp material. So it's kind of funny, sim racing and motorsports kind of are two of the reasons I got into doing Voron builds. I have to tuck those in a little bit. I do a low angle on this guy. That will actually be useful. A little bit, a little bit. This is kind of a pain, even with a ball end. I've been pulling the beta gear off the V2 and getting ready to mount what I'm going to keep using on the back in an enclosure. Then I keep the NDA happy. Nice. So what will you be streaming? Doing your tool changer build? Steve has a mod for this. He was concerned that there's not enough support if you're going to be plugging stuff in and out of this. So he created these. Which are supposed to snap into the extrusion, I believe, and then oh, I gotta find Steve's stream. Then the company will keep making it rain with nuclear. The ERCFA 2 commissioning and the stealth changer. I've got 5 stealth burners on my bench. Nice. So you're doing full stealth burner. How does this snap in, Steve? I might have to take it out in order to get it. Yeah, maybe it was part 3 where Steve showed off that part. They're already doing config. Yeah, I think I need to take it off. I want to Fysetc APU SU 2 on Modbot's factory tour a couple weeks ago. Okay, I watched that too. Start with the slow unboxing. I like the detailed long form stuff. I know it probably doesn't do as well. My two V0 review videos are both like 45 minutes and 35 minutes long, which is not going to be for like the average person just kind of vaguely wanting to know about a V02 kit. It's more for the person that's like either wants to know everything about a product or just really is very, very detail oriented. So I think this is meant to snap on like so, like so. Then put one kind of over here, kind of in the middle between them, I think. Not seeing how they attach to this thing. So I would be interested in like slow unboxings of stuff. Is what I was trying to say with that. Lost a screw. These might not work with my meshed skirts unless I remove one of the mesh pieces. So I think this is supposed to stick through the back. This is like the negative of one of those holes. We'll forego it for now, and I'll figure it out later. Just be can go in here. Internet can go in there. Interesting there, you have their sides swapped compared to how they're actually oriented. How long have you been working on building the printer total? This is the 5th stream. The first stream was just a like 2-hour long unboxing and organization stream. Every other stream has been 3 to 4 hours, but you know, actual work time versus just shooting the shit, it's kind of hard to judge for me. Probably 10-ish hours, if I had to guess. Again, if I was just kind of working by myself, not talking, it would go much faster, but I wouldn't have as much fun. If I was doing if I was doing a review of the Cyborg V0.1 kit, great apart from there, they're using really soft fasteners that even straight Allen keys round out. That's disappointing. That's one of those things that impacts you at every point in the build. And it's hard to get this started. There you go. Yeah, fasteners just impact you everywhere you use them. And it's really annoying when you're kind of like maybe taking something apart and then trying to put it back together and you strip out a screw that's kind of like not easy to replace. Can't get this Allen key out. The LDO hardware was pretty good. The former hardware, I didn't have too much problems with it. I stripped out a couple screws. The LDO nut bars actually stripped out really, really easily. But then I bought a second set from like Fabrico or something, and they were fine. So I think it was like their earliest versions of them that had issues. I might be able to hide that excess wiring down in the bottom of the bay instead of up here. Keep that really, really nice and clean. I mean, look how clean the electronics are. Like, that's pretty much everything I'm going to need to do. Button head 2.5 hex make up 3/4 of the BOM in the cyborg kit. A 2.5 hex? $2.5. Not 2. That's unusual. Where are they sourcing their hardware from? I feel like everybody else's button head, like all the 3mm button heads, or M3 button heads, use a M2 standard, right? Uh, 2.5 is normal for M3 button head. I've been using like these are M3 button head, and they fit in M2 or 2.0 hex drive. I think the LDO and Formbot kit were the same. Are you saying those are non-standard and typically it should be a 2.5? What else do we want to try to get done today? I'm kind of all over the place and haven't really been going by the manual. We got that done. We can do a little bit of the display mounting, but I want to do a multicolor print for that. We need to do the fan back here. So these are knob one. So the knob will be here. It'll be pointed out. So we need the M210. Small screwdriver, which I had. Oh, here it is. This is where stuff starts getting hard because I haven't put things away correctly. But we need these self-tappers connected to the display mount. But we need the front of the display on first. So we won't do the display today. We do need to do this fan. This needs to blow towards the electronics. This gets mounted like this. So it goes right at that heatsink, or is it down the bottom so it hits those fins? It's 2 millimeters. Okay. You grab the calipers. Gotcha. He zip ties and cable. It's just VHB taped the side. Okay. We will get that done, and that'll be near a good place to stop the stream, I think. And I can get stuff cleaned up tonight before I go to sleep. And I don't know if I'll stream again tomorrow. Might be Tuesday. I think we could probably get first boot and maybe most of the config done in the next stream. And I don't know, every time I've gotten the config done, I've actually been able to push plastic, but this is a little bit of an unusual printer. You need to finish editing your Windows subsystem for Linux tutorial vid. You can install Debian as a virtual machine on your Windows now and build Clipper on a more convenient machine and Flash easier. Interesting. So I use WSL for work. I've got like a Lenovo, and we do a lot of our development. I do web development mostly, and a lot of the libraries and stuff run much better in a Linux system than on Windows. So I use Windows subsystem for Linux quite a bit. I don't have it installed on any of my personal machines at the moment. That would be kind of accessible for flashing Clipper. Um, I consider the LDO switch wire. So I have a ender wire build in the works. It was feel silly for me to start on a switch wire when I haven't started on the ender wire. I do think it would be interesting to do both in terms of like possibly creating content. I think my stream just froze. My camera's froze, definitely. I have no mouse control at the moment. Yeah, my cameras are frozen. Switch wire is a waste of money. You could use something useful with it. Those are fighting words for some people. I would be interested in displaying it as a way for people. It's like a little bit of an entry level or a gateway for people to get into kind of building Vorons. If they already have an ender, they can do the ender wire. And it's just another printer to build. My cameras are being butts right now. Try turning them off and back on again, and then we'll wrap up the stream. to fix my front facing camera. That's Garage. I say stay simple with your stream for as long as possible, because as soon as you start making things more complex, there's a lot more vectors for stuff to break. Finally, that just took me 15 minutes to get this set back up. Your switch wire carries its weight. I have it, the 2.4 and Trident and V0 all printing parts right now. So I have a Prusa MK3S and a MMU3 kit I need to put together. I have parts of a Ender I need, and printed parts for an Ender wire I need to build. And then I really, really want to build a Trident. I'm trying to go back and see where he mounts the fan. So he's got it like this. We just need screws long enough to go through, which might be 12s or 16s. 16s at least, maybe 20s. Sixteens look like they will work if I can hold things. I might actually have some thinner half width VHB that might be a better size for this. Let me see. Yeah, I do. It might not be quite skinny enough. That's close. Horseshoes and hand grenades. And he just kind of plops it on next to where the compute module will be. That's a different version of this printer. Plugs into the middle port here. Hopefully these are all already set for the right voltages. And it's interesting, the fins on this heatsink go up and down, but we'll be blowing air across it this way, so it's not really maximizing the cooling in that regard, but not interesting. I mean, that don't make no damn sense. Hey, have a good night, Shrimp Father. And Projects in Dad's Garage is headed to bed too. Move the fan to the bottom. It's a little congested down there. You could put it here. So this mount is designed to be VHB down. It's not designed to be mounted to the bottom of the extrusion. It could go here. It would make more sense. I might move it down there. But I have to remove that VHB tape anyway. Side on, you'll have boundary layer, or mount it to the back panel and drill holes. Gotcha. So my typical approach for the most part is to build these as close to stock initially, then do like an evaluation on them, and then do any upgrades I see here as like 100% necessary. So I can kind of talk about in the review, oh, this is the way they want you to do it, but I found it better to do it this way. And then I'll have a little bit of comparison, but you're probably right. You could probably just do it the way that makes the most sense right out of the gate. I think we're at a pretty good stopping point, though. I need to do a lot of cleanup. I will probably do the config before I do the panels and Tophat. But I'm liking the build. This is why you pay more for LVO. True. I didn't initially want to go with the black. I actually did this color change wrong, but I kind of like the way it looks. I imagined in my head the print head looking like Genji from Overwatch, to the point that I actually printed out ears for this guy. If you don't know who Genji is, he's a ninja in Overwatch, and he's got a helmet with little ears sticking out. So that's supposed to be his visor up there, and these are supposed to be ears. I don't know if I'll put these on there. They need to be glued in, but I just thought it was funny and did it like in 5 minutes. Pretty happy with stuff right now. I didn't have to do much in terms of de-racking with these belts. Did take me a little while the other day to get them tensioned. I need to clean up the cables a little bit more. Probably reprint this guy in the back. Clean up some of the cable management. Go over all the wiring and double make sure it's okay. I need to print the enclosure for this guy for the display. I want to do it in a similar color scheme as what's on the front of the tool head. So, you know, put some Bestigons on there and a couple color changes. And I think we will be good to do the config and possibly push some plastic in the next stream. But yeah, happy with what we were able to get done today. This is kind of along the lines of what I was hoping to get done last stream, but that was probably a little bit ambitious. I think I've been judging my progress a little bit too much based on how fast Steve was able to go. Him and Dana got this printer put together fast, quick, and in a hurry. So yeah, I just realized that I did not remove that peel, so I need to do that as well. And again, if I'm not disassembling the printer, you know, at least 3 or 4 times while I'm building it, I'm doing it way too good. So when will you stream next so I can try to fit it around the kids? The plan is Tuesday night, but I will like put out a notification in the streams early if I can. But that's the plan, is Tuesday night for me. So that would be 7:30, 8 p.m. Eastern time ish. And I can't remember if we're in daylight saving or not right now, but that's the plan. So thank you to everybody who stopped in and chatted with the stream. You guys keep me entertained, probably much more than I entertain you, and it just makes it a lot more pleasurable of an experience to do these. Again, I already mentioned it's not quite as fast when I'm kind of talking to people in the stream, but it's kind of like I'm at a makerspace building stuff, talking with people right next to me. So yeah, the plan for the next stream is to get it kind of up and running, actually turn it on, hopefully no blue smoke, and get the config set up, which with a compute module and this particular board, I've heard some people having some trouble with, but I think Steve got it done relatively painless or pain-free. So that will be the plan. Again, thank you to Fysetc for sending this kit out for the purpose of making some content around it. Hopefully, I've been making some mistakes that help other people who might be watching these streams not make the same mistakes. So yeah, it's just fun to hang out with fellow nerds, absolutely, and it's great that I can hang out with somebody literally like on the other side of the world. So 3D printing community is absolutely great, and I'm really thankful that I found it. I got into 3D printing to be able to do other stuff, like to enhance other hobbies, and it's kind of become the main hobby in a way for me. But yeah, thank you to everybody who tuned in. Have a good day and or night, depending on where you are in the world, and I will see you in the next stream. Peace. Ooh. Stream ending.